Washington, Maryland Congressman Glenn Ivey stood firm as he recounted the events of his recent trip to El Salvador, where he was denied access to meet with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland resident and union sheet metal worker, wrongly deported earlier this year. Abrego Garcia, a father of 3, was removed from the United States in March and placed in El Salvador's infamous terrorism confinement center, later moved to a slightly better facility in April. Ivey flew into El Salvador on May 23, determined to check on Abrego Garcia's condition and well-being. Despite notifying the Salvadoran government through the U.S. ambassador and his office, Ivey was blocked. They certainly had notice. They were certainly aware, Ivey emphasized in a phone interview with USA Today. They just decided they wanted to stonewall me, and that's the bottom line. The congressman's trip followed previous efforts by other U.S. officials. In April, Senator Chris Van Hollen, another Maryland Democrat, successfully met with Abrego Garcia. After the visit, Van Hollen took to X, formerly Twitter, to share that he had spoken to Abrego Garcia's wife, Jennifer, passing along a message of love from her husband. But Ivey wasn't the only one turned away. 4 House Democrats who visited El Salvador in April were also denied access to Abrego Garcia. Ivey, frustrated by the situation, shared a video on X saying he had been told he needed a permit to see Abrego Garcia. "I have a right to go see him and make sure he's in good health," Ivey declared. "So I don't think there's any merit at all to this permit stuff." Meanwhile, the situation sparked political reactions back home. The Department of Homeland Security, under the Trump administration, fired back online. In response to Ivey's post, DHS wrote, "While the mainstream media and politicians are fighting to bring a foreign terrorist and gang member back to U.S. soil, at POTUS Trump and at SEC_NOM are fighting for the victims of alien crime and putting the safety of Americans first." The Trump administration has labeled Abrego Garcia as a member of the notorious MS-13 gang. However, Abrego Garcia denies any gang involvement, and notably, he has no criminal convictions. A federal judge has also questioned the strength of the evidence against Abrego Garcia. Despite the Supreme Court ordering the administration to facilitate his release, the Justice Department has pushed back, arguing that it lacks authority to return someone who is currently in a foreign country. At a hearing on May 16, U.S. District Judge Paula Shinnis expressed frustration, stating that the Justice Department had not made a good faith effort to comply with her directive to provide information on the government's steps to bring Abrego Garcia back. The story of Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a tangled knot of immigration policy, international diplomacy, and raw political conflict. For his family, the saga has been devastating. Jennifer, his wife, has spoken out multiple times, describing the emotional toll on their children and the hardships they've faced since his deportation. Community advocates in Maryland have rallied around the family, organizing petitions, press conferences, and local demonstrations demanding action. In Congress, the issue has become a flashpoint between Democrats pushing for immigrant rights and a Republican administration framing the case as a matter of national security. Ivey's persistence highlights just how high the stakes are. For him, this isn't just about one man, it's about accountability, justice, and the broader treatment of immigrants under U.S. policy. He's not backing down. In interviews, Ivey has vowed to continue pushing the administration, raising awareness, and exploring every legal and diplomatic option to secure Abrego Garcia's return. The Salvadoran government's refusal to allow access has only fueled concerns about Abrego Garcia's current conditions. Human rights groups have long criticized El Salvador's prison system, particularly the terrorism confinement center, known for overcrowding, violence, and inhumane treatment. Ivey's account raises urgent questions. What is happening to Abrego Garcia behind closed doors? Why is the Salvadoran government stonewalling U.S. officials? And what message does this send to other immigrants caught in the web of U.S. deportation policy? Sen. Van Hollen's earlier visit was seen as a small victory, but the repeated denials faced by House Democrats paint a darker picture. Legal experts say the case highlights the limits of U.S. judicial power when a deportee is no longer on American soil, even when the Supreme Court weighs in. In Maryland, constituents are watching closely, especially immigrant communities who see Abrego Garcia's case as symbolic of a larger struggle. Local leaders, including religious groups and labor unions, have stepped up to offer support, calling for federal action. Back in Washington, the political divide couldn't be starker. Republican leaders remained firm in their stance, framing Abrego Garcia as a dangerous individual and portraying Democratic efforts as soft on crime. Democrats, meanwhile, argue that due process has been ignored and that the administration's approach reflects systemic injustices in immigration enforcement. The battle over Abrego Garcia is no longer just about his individual fate, it's a litmus test for broader issues of human rights, international cooperation, and the reach of U.S. authority. As the weeks go by, pressure is mounting on the Biden administration to intervene, particularly as legal options narrow. For now, Glenn Ivey's blocked visit stands as a stark reminder of the challenges U.S. lawmakers face when trying to navigate complex international disputes. The question now is, what comes next? Will further diplomatic efforts break the impasse? Or will Abrego Garcia remain stuck in a legal limbo, caught between nations, politics, and courts? As this case unfolds, it's sure to remain a central talking point in the national debate over immigration, justice, and America's obligations to its own citizens abroad. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over.